right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Sidekicked, a Marvel Champions podcast where we are all about the allies. We'll teach you who they are in the comics, discuss their card, and what kind of decks they might be played in. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Science slash Dakaru slash whatever the heck these two weirdos are going to be calling me. And just here to harass me are the, I guess, main hosts, Jason Sketch and Levi Lewis. Take it away, guys.
Good morning. Welcome on in, Dr. Science. We're glad you're here.
Dr. Science, Dr. Science. It's for the record, dear listeners, it's them who wanted to call me this. I did not opt for this.
He wanted to be called Dr. Poopy Face.
I don't recall ever saying this. Do not listen to Levi. This is a complete fabrication.
What a wild way to start off. Listeners, you know we love and care for everyone, including our new guest coming onto the show. We gave him many options, including Dr. Poopy Pants and Dr. Science, and he chose Dr. Science between all of the options that were given to him. So
they also decided to torture me by making me wake up before the crack of dawn. So you know, take that as you will, dear listeners.
That was you, sir. That was you, sir.
I deny all claims and assertions that this is my fault.
We said we could accommodate you, and you said no. If I have to suffer, we all have to suffer. And I was like, none of us have to. None of us have to.
No. I distinctly recall it being definitely Levi who made this a reality. After all, dear listeners, when somebody says that we're doing this at 6 o'clock, who would assume that means 6 a.m.? I'll let the viewers decide on that one. Because I think we all know the answer.
The good news is, Levi, is we have the ability to edit this information afterwards, and I will just edit it where he said,
"Don't you dare! Don't you freaking dare!
This is my fault." So,
don't you freaking dare! Now I just have to never say it. Now I'm never gonna say that line throughout this entire podcast.
I just want the court reporter to read back the information, and it says, "Let me read it real quick. Let me read that real quick." Oh yeah, it was definitely you.
Anyways, I guess rather.
We're getting to know you first, my friend.
Yeah, we want to know you.
So, listeners, as you're aware, we already have a hostile takeover of a new and improved co-host this evening, or this afternoon, or this morning, whenever you're listening to the podcast.
Today.
This morning for Dr. Science. Yeah, we've got some interview questions for you, Dr. Science. We want to get to know you a little bit, get our viewers a chance to get to know you, get to be familiar with who you are. So, what brings you to the podcast today?
I am here at the darkest of mornings at this wonderful, wonderful Texas location, undisclosed, to discuss the very interesting character and now one of my personal favorite characters in Marvel.
So, the next question is what are your qualifications to be on our podcast?
Absolutely zilch. Absolutely nothing. I have zero qualifications to speak publicly in any capacity. Never mind that I speak publicly for my job or anything like that. That's ridiculous. No one would ever do that.
What is your job?
I am a research scientist, currently still transitioning from finishing up my PhD. Just defended that a couple weeks ago. And what I do is I do research in cancer therapy in my day job. Although granted, with how much work that is, it turns into a night job many times, or oftentimes too.
So when you're not doing that job, at night you're secretly a vigilante. Is that correct?
Discord FBI, I am not a vigilante, or whoever would be listening to this recording. No. At night, my common hobbies, including being tennis, which I played back in college, I guess I'm still in college technically, or rather, I just graduated from third college with my doctorate. Having gotten a master's before that and bachelor's before that. So I've been in college a long time, some would say, which, family constantly likes to joke about. Rightfully so. But no, other than like tennis, I'll play a lot of video games. Recently been picking up that new Helldivers update where we must defend Super Earth. Yes, indeed. Death to the Illuminate. And all that good stuff. I'm an avid League of Legends player. I'm a frequent player and destroyer of the local tournament scene in Warhammer 40k. tabletop, the war game, and other hobbies besides that.
Did you actually? I know you were in a tournament the other day. Did you actually win your tournament for
Yes,
40K?
I won the last RTT we had here.
Who is your? And it can be in the any medium, I guess, but technically we're talking about Marvel Champions here. So who is your favorite hero in the Marvel universe? I guess.
I'm pretty bog standard, pretty generic. Captain America is my personal favorite. He's at the deck that I pretty much only play in Marvel Champions since I just recently picked it up in the last several months. Thanks to these two.
You're welcome.
That's lame. That's so lame because that dude is so old. He's so old. Yeah, he came out.
That's what makes him so cool.
Yeah, Captain America came out in the 40s, man.
That's what makes him so cool. It's a classic. Gotta appreciate the classics, Levi.
Now, which version of Cap are we talking about?
You're talking about in the comics, or you're talking about in the deck?
In the comics, like we know the Captain America that it's the hero right now in the decks. The only one that's available currently is just Steve Rogers.
Of course.
But
The version that I am most familiar with is certainly movie version of Captain America, Steve Rogers. Though as a kid, I did grow up a fair bit on the cartoons and stuff like that featured him.
okay, so mostly Steve Rogers is Captain America Classic, Steve Rogers Captain America then.
Yeah.
So because there's a point in the comics and there'll be several different versions of Cap, but I think John Walker tries to take on Cap for a while. For sure, I know Bucky takes on the role of Cap, and then there's also a time that Falcon is also titled Captain America. In fact, both him and Steve Rogers are Captain America currently in the comic universe. Whether that makes sense or not, that's just how comics work. So, and then I think there's a special professor that becomes Captain America or something that Levi Lewis insists happened in the comics.
Yes, it did. It did happen. I read back up on it the other day. He goes and he has a bad serum and it makes him go insane. And literally, Steve comes back after he gets out of the ice and he has to fight him because the other false Captain America, the crazy one, literally this is how crazy he is. He becomes so crazy. He becomes the leader of, I'm not going to say what kind of group, but a very, very racist group. And Captain America fights him.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, I recently,
a wild piece of information.
I recently
there.
read that and I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't finish that series of that dude.
Dang. Well, Well, that is wild. Okay. Let's jump into the next part. Asking Dr. Science who his favorite Marvel villain is.
My favorite villain?
Yes, sir.
I don't really have a favorite villain.
Oh, you're one of those goody two-shoes.
I guess. I guess you could go with just from the movies, like Thanos was the big bad. That was kind of like the big penultimate villain of Endgame, obviously. So he was a pretty good one. He was kind of, I don't know. I didn't necessarily like Thanos in Endgame, just because his motivation was a little quirky, in my opinion. But
Thanos in the movies.
Yeah. In order to save the universe, I must kill half the universe. Wait a second, hold on, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, and they did it that way, I guess, to try to make it connect back to the public to give them, oh, there's motivation and reason. In the comics, it was, I want to kill half the universe because I can.
Yeah, isn't it because in the comics, Thanos just wants to get on because he has the hots for death?
That's exactly it.
He kind of has multiple reasons, but that's one of the biggest motivations that he has is that he's trying to impress Death. That's also why in the comics he brings back Deadpool so many times, because Deadpool has kind of got the eye of Death because of how many times Deadpool has died or whatever.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
Amazing. Truly. Deadpool will never escape. Or we will never escape Deadpool. Or the deck with his, what was it? 100 attack, 100 HP, 200 HP, 200 attack, 200 defense.
Yeah, he's the perfect hero.
Yes.
So, Dr. Science, who would you say is your favorite sidekick?
My favorite sidekick? My favorite sidekick, now granted, he's probably not even considered sidekick, is Bucky. Winter
Really?
Soldier.
Just
Oh, that,
falling back into that Captain America scene.
Yeah, he was.
I don't know if you'd really
origi-
consider him a sidekick, considering he's more of his own standalone hero. But he tag teams with Cap enough that and he kind of plays second fiddle to Cap enough that I'd almost consider him his sidekick as much as Falcon or something like that.
So in the comics, originally Bucky was Captain America's sidekick.
Yeah, and in the original wasn't he like World War
He
II?
was
He was like a kid, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Which
he
is
was a
little
kid
odd.
that fought in World War II. He got the same serum that Cap did in the comics.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. The funny part about that is that they sent a kid into World War II, but it was it's a different age.
They were a little desperate. They're like, we're gonna send this child.
We got this.
Yeah.
You got this, kid.
He
Nothing
looks
bad
18.
Nothing bad will possibly come of this, ever.
He just has a weird growth deficiency.
He's just short. He looks young. Weird.
He's just short. Well, do you read any comics?
I am not a big comic reader. No. Which is why when you guys invited me, I was a little hesitant. But I had a hunch that I would be able to pool my skills of researching to some good use here for this lovely podcast.
Oh man!
And obviously all of its lovely viewers.
It's too bad we are just an audio medium, because we would totally love to put up your PowerPoint presentation that you were going to share with us and send us last night. That was pretty impressive.
You joke, but I would 100% be able to do that.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I went to watch your
Defense.
Thank you. Yes, I was more impressed. Not that you weren't doing some really cool things with science. It was hard for me to understand it all because I haven't gotten that far into the science. I understood the basics of what was happening, but all the little things of like things moving across your screen or like little arrows popping up and stuff. I was like, dude, I don't even know how to do that. That's so cool. So
It's the magic of PowerPoint.
it is the magic.
You can do, and multiple images on top of each other.
Oh, just layering. Got it.
It is layering. It's a huge pain, but it works.
It looked really well. So
Why are you even here? Just why?
Just why? Just why not? I say to that, Levi. Huh?
With your science.
My science.
oh, man. What's your favorite part of Marvel Champions? Why do you keep coming back and playing with us? What do you like about the game?
I just like playing with you guys. I like playing the game with friends. It's fun. I like the strategy element of it. I like that it requires teamwork. You can play the game solo, but playing as a team makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more dynamic, especially with the deck that I use, which makes it a lot more team-oriented. And it's just a fun game, and you get to play it. I think the scenarios that they've come up with and that I've seen so far are very creative, and I would never have guessed that with the premise of the game that they would be able to pull off what they've done.
It's so cool to see. Like every time I turn around, it's something new on just how they design the game, how they design the villains, and then each hero feels like an individual hero. You're not like, cool, all right, I've got a sticker of Captain America, but I play Captain America just like I do Iron Man or just like I do Spider-Man. No, I'm playing Captain America.
They're very distinct. Very distinct.
It's just great. It's cool too. Each scenario as well, where you're just like you mentioned. I'm facing Ultron, and I feel like I'm fighting a bunch of drones off. Where I turn around, okay, I'm facing MODOK, and I'm having to sneak through his facility to get to free these prisoners.
Facing Sandman and fighting the mildly inconvenient Sand Clones.
Sand clone, Sand clone.
Look out, it's Sand Clone. Freaking Sand
Favorite movie is Home Alone. Grew up in the 90s and went to DC Zone.
Viewers,
I
remember.
I didn't know we'd come up with such a long song for this. I don't remember that.
Oh yes, quite a long song. It was most of the time waiting on our good friend who's not here in this episode.
For now.
Can't
now,
defend
right?
himself.
Who our
He can't.
co-player.
He can't defend himself, so we're gonna talk smack about him.
But he would take long times on his turn sometimes, getting ready to do what he's due. So we'd all sing that song while we were waiting for him to make his turn. So
Jason says that like he doesn't take long turns either.
no,
And
no,
always take
never.
first place.
He always does
he-
take
he-
first. He
First
always
player.
does take first. Yes.
Long time
Yes.
listeners
Viewers,
may
Levi and I have
remember.
a reoccurring joke that Levi will are usually right next to each other in turn order, and oftentimes we will joke that when it's not Jason's first turn or turn as first player, he will then ask you, "Hey, can I do something really quick that would be really good for us?"
And normally
not
I make
wrong.
the mistake of being like, yeah, go ahead and do something. And then he takes my turn, and I'm like, can I play now? Do I get to
Hey, at
do
least he's
something?
usually not wrong that it was good for the whole table.
Normally,
Thank you.
whenever let me be very honest. Normally, whenever he asks me this question, normally I have to look away and just be like, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" And I don't even pay attention to what he does. And then I'll look back and I'll be like, "I can't tell what you did."
I pay attention. Don't worry.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Dr. Science. Long-time listeners may remember, though, we were several times in this podcast, we've talked about the campaign we've been playing through of Sinister Motives, Levi Lewis. And this is actually, Dr. Science is one of our fellow players in that campaign. And so he has been the one that we've been talking about who always runs Captain America. So you may have guessed that by now if you're a long-time listener.
No.
So we have actually gotten through everything but the last final scenario. So hopefully
Go team.
by the next time Dr. Science comes back around, we'll be able to have played that final scenario.
Go team.
Go team.
So,
Well-
what? Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say we're going to move on to our next section of talking about, we usually talk about what have we been playing recently.
What have you been playing, Jason?
Oh, thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
To be clear, what have you been playing in Marvel Champions?
Oh, okay. And for Dr. Science, it can be other things as well. So, because he doesn't always play the champions of Marvel.
No, it can't.
I have, as longtime viewers of my YouTube channel may have already noticed, I have been going through the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. campaign by my lonesome, which is kind of weird because most of the times when I'm doing the campaign, I am doing it with Dr. Science and Levi Lewis and our other co-friend as well, who we will now call Co-Friend. That'll be his new nickname.
Co-friend.
Yeah.
Co-friend.
His name is
but
Co-Friend until
his
he
name
comes
is-
onto the podcast.
Till he comes on the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then he gets promoted to a full friend. Is that how it works?
Yep.
The bearded friend,
Bearded friend. Is that why he's co-friend? Co-beard? Is that how it works?
That's it. Yeah. He's a co-player in our game.
I
He has
always-
a co-beard.
I always knew that's how beards worked.
Exactly. Yep. Once you can grow one, and you're mature enough to grow one, we'll.
I don't have the genetics to grow a full beard. I'll be real.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
If you'd ever seen my brother, he's tried to grow a beard for many, many years, and he does not. Good thing he's never going to listen to this. He does not have a great beard. Let's put it that way.
Oh man, poor dude. I'm
He's tried.
excited.
He's tried.
Well,
God
we'll
knows
have
he's
to-
tried.
You have to give us some pictures so we can share it for our wonderful listeners to see.
No, I don't think he'd appreciate that.
Fair enough.
It might be
but yeah,
it might be best if this is buried.
Oh, good to know. So cut this part out of the podcast is what
No,
I'm hearing.
no. We're keeping it in, obviously. But you know,
Oh, okay. Just make
if
the
I hear
volume
back,
louder.
if I hear back from in 10 years when this obviously pops off, everybody's like, "Oh my God, did you ever listen to this classic Sidekicked show?"
That's it. It's going to be a classic. You hear that?
Exactly.
We are the classic Marvel Champions podcast. You've heard it here, ladies and gentlemen, from Dr. Science. He's got a doctorate in science.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
he knows things, except he doesn't know anything about wombats.
No, wombats don't exist. If you don't know what a wombat is, it can't hurt you.
That's what I think about cancer.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
But yeah, so what have I been playing recently? I've been doing that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. campaign, and I'm running through it with Hawkeye, and that's been pretty cool. Hawkeye is generally known, and please forgive me, Kennedy Hawk, if you're listening to this episode, because I don't think I believe this anymore, as probably the weakest hero in the game. And I have found that Hawkeye can actually pull off a lot more cool stunts than I realized, and so I've really enjoyed getting to play him. He's got a different feel. You're not running through the game like I'm the powerful Hulk and I'm smashing everything. You're definitely playing a Hawkeye that can't take a lot of hits, so you're going to be sneaking around and trying to shoot arrows and make sure your arrows are popping off at the right time. So I really enjoyed that, trying out some of the new Shield heroes. So we talked about Yo-Yo on our last episode, Rodriguez, and I've actually used her quite a bit in this campaign, and I've really come to enjoy her. The fact that you're just paying that one resource for her to pop and come down every single time. I'm excited to try her in multiplayer where I can give her to another player. But the really neat thing, I don't know if you've heard of this ally or not, Dr. Science, but you pay an energy resource, she'll pop onto the table, she'll do her thing, you can ready her a couple of times, and then before the villain turn begins and after you've drawn your hand, she comes back to your hand. So now it makes your hand size of 6 instead of a hand size of 5. So it's pretty neat. You're having to pay that resource to get her on the table every single time, but
she's always there.
She's always there, yep, and she never really dies off. It's pretty great. And then another ally that I've come to really enjoy is Grant Ward, and I look forward to talking about him in the future, but he's 0 cost to play. And so he comes onto the table. The only thing is he clearly says he cannot defend for you. And then when a treachery pops up, you have to pay a mental resource, or he does 2 damage to you, then he runs away from the game. And he doesn't get to come back into play.
He runs away from the game.
Yeah, he has to leave the game entirely. And so but he comes in with a 2 attack and 2 thwart for 0 cost. If you just have to deal with the treachery every once in a while, it's not a terrible thing. So, but we'll probably talk about him in a future episode. But yeah, that is what I've been playing recently. I'm getting ready to start the Thunderbolts scenario. I am still waiting on Silk to come to my LGS, my local game store, as promised. And so I'm kind of deciding whether I want to wait for that Thunderbolt to add it to the Thunderbolts mission, or just to play one of the other 2 Thunderbolts that I already have. So
thanks for asking me what I've been playing.
Hey, Levi Lewis, what have you been playing?
I've been playing, I think I talked about it in the last episode, I've been playing Adam Warlock. I've been going through the Mad Titan Shadows campaign with him. I just recently defeated Ebony Maw, so the first guy. It took me 2 tries to beat him, but I am playing with a themed deck. I want to play with a themed deck just at first anyways. If I don't defeat I think it's called Tower Defense scenario. Yeah, Tower Defense part, the second part of the campaign. If I don't defeat the Tower Defense with that themed deck, then I'll change up my deck completely to more of what I typically play with Adam Warlock, a more typical, cool, mystical Adam Warlock deck. That's what I plan on doing, yeah. Ooh, yeah. He is very mystical.
That's exciting. Adam Warlock can be a lot of fun. He's unique in his way he builds, with just the single... All 4 aspects have to be represented at an equal amount.
So, I specifically bought Mad Titan Shadow for Adam Warlock. I wasn't really interested in the campaign at the time, because I had other campaigns. I wasn't really interested in... I can't remember the other hero that comes with it, but Jason, you might remember. I don't know. But I just was
Spectrum.
Spectrum? Okay. Yeah, I still have not played Spectrum. I was like, Adam Warlock, this looks so freaking cool. This is an amazing concept. And yeah, there's others out there that are similar, but not exactly the same. And so I was just like, oh my goodness. And so now that I have played Adam Warlock, he is one of my favorite guys to play.
With the Mystic trait, it's kind of hard not to enjoy him.
Huh?
Mystics are just really powerful in this game. But we can discuss that at another time. We've been talking over our guests here, Dr. Science. Have you been
though?
playing games recently?
The last time we played was the last time I played. So, I've just been playing Captain America, kind of my standard deck at this point. In terms of what
Your only deck at this point.
that's not entirely true. It is currently the only complete deck that I've put together.
Oh,
But it's
there it
just
is.
it's purely just a deck that I try to play flexibly, being able to throw out stuns, block for teammates, protection deck, and just kind of be a nuisance and try to stall out the game so that the teammates can get all their resources out and just kind of wombo combo the villain.
That's the word of the
Does
day. Wombo combo.
You do play a great support hero, so we really appreciate that for sure. Stunlock, protection, Captain America.
Although I don't know about stun lock at this point, considering how often the villain still gets to attack. But when there's multiple people, to be fair, that's expected.
Yeah, but it does help save one person or another throughout the game.
Yeah.
But you are
Oh, it
constantly.
comes in clutch.
I think per round, on average, you'll stun the villain, then you will protect one time with Captain America somebody, and then you'll protect with one of your allies. And usually by the end of it, you've protected 3 times.
Yeah,
And didn't
usually.
defend for yourself. Like
Usually. Well, we've had I forget what the scenario was called. The recent one we had the upgrades and there was you could take 2 damage to yourself and ready yourself. So with Cap, where you can just discard a card to ready yourself, I could ready myself like twice in the course of one turn and be able to. But
That's
funnily
right.
enough, do quite a bit of flexibility there, especially with I think the card's called Fearless Determination, where you draw a card and you get an extra thwart for Cap, and so if you can ready yourself or thwart 3 times, you can do like 9 thwart on Cap in that scenario, which is pretty funny.
that is wild.
Yeah, which is not something that you would normally expect at all from
Right.
Cap, or from protection, but you know.
Yeah, he can ready quite a bit. It is good that you were able to find him before he became like unavailable anywhere.
Oh, that was a lucky find. And in English.
And in English, yes.
Importantly.
That's right. I've been seeing people on Discord who've been buying both Captain America and Doctor Strange from a different country, and then they'll find like some nice paper and print the English version off and
They'll like
cut it
tape
off.
it on. They'll like almost glue it on, basically.
Almost, or I think they just slide them both into the sleeve together,
Yeah.
and
That's
so
A little bit of
if it
tape,
works,
a little bit of determination.
that's right. Well, sweet. I think that is everything that we've all been playing recently. I guess, would you be interested in learning a new hero at some point, Dr. Science?
Sure, of course.
Sweet.
I know Winter Soldier was one I was keeping an eye on or interested in potentially playing in the future.
Yes, June
Yep.
20th is when he drops, so we're super stoked. As of right now, it is May 22nd, so it might already be out when we release this episode. So,
Spoilers for the viewers.
oh,
Of
sorry.
how-
Dun,
of your
dun,
of your pro- of your
dun.
process of your creative process.
I think they're aware we're a few weeks behind at this point. A few weeks early, not behind. A few weeks early.
Ah.
We kind of. I mean, I like doing it that way because then we can talk about like the Thunderbolts movies or like, was it the new Captain America movie? And it'll be enough time for people to watch it, and there's not really any spoilers.
Sir, it is New Avengers.
I heard that movie.
Is with the Z.
Or no, I'm thinking of the new Captain America movie.
Brave New World?
Yes, yes. I haven't seen it. I heard it wasn't very good.
Ooh, that is incorrect, sir.
You think it was a good movie?
I liked it.
Ah, well, maybe I'll have to go see it.
But
Or
at this point, it's on Disney Plus. So, if you did not enjoy the Edward Norton Hulk, you will not enjoy this new Captain America. And so, the Edward Norton Hulk, it answers a lot of questions from that movie. That's the only disappointing part is there is no Hulk, no Bruce Banner present anywhere.
Bruce Banner is not in the movie.
it's like why is the Incredible Hulk not here fighting Red Hulk?
Pretty much. Yeah, that is. Let's move on from all that. I think Dr. Science has a presentation for us.
A presentation? Is it really
Yes.
a presentation? Or a scattering of notes?
It might be both. I'm excited for this though. As you mentioned, Luke Cage has become one of your favorites, and I've loved.
I did not really know who Luke Cage was before choosing him. I just knew the card, and that seemed to be the premise of the whole podcast. So I
Yep.
did research, and I do have to say that in doing the research, he became. I became a fan for sure of just the premise of Luke Cage and what all he does. So I think he is a very cool character.
So
But
anyways,
Like
on the
20
note
episodes.
of Luke Cage, the man, the myth, the legend. Luke Cage, a little bit of background on him. Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, the first issue back in 1972. So he's been around for quite a while. His actual name is Carl Lucas, though later on he does legally change his name to Luke Cage. Born in Harlem, New York, and has quite a story where one of the parts that I loved about his story in particular, that maintains its relevance in modern day, is the story of a man who is imprisoned and still ends up coming out and works very, very hard to build a better world and fight for what's right, and just generally try to be what becomes a very central part of his character is be a good father. I think that's the shortest summary possible. Luke Cage. We've got powers. He's been a member of a lot of different groups over the years. He has some older villains before he kind of got wrapped up in all the Avengers stuff, and then he gets kind of lumped in with everybody else.
Yeah, let's hear. I mean, we can go into as much detail as you like. You mentioned he's got a kid now. You mentioned that he's been a part of several different teams. Did he lead any of these teams? What would you like to share about Lucius Cagius?
I guess Lucius Cagius. We're gonna keep calling him that. I can see this already.
Who's his bestie?
Lucius Cagius, Lucas Cagius, Luke Cage. He three. Three of the kind of reoccurring and most important characters who side along him in his story over his career and history. First being Iron Fist, being his longtime bro and partner and just all around good guy. And giver of PTSD in video games. Then he is married to Jessica Jones, aka Nitrous, and the third most important person there who maintains high relevance despite being a child is their kid, Daniela. Anyways,
Control F, Daniela.
well, that's assuming it's spelled correctly.
it's a typo.
But Luke Cage was not born. Luke Cage, in many ways, I would compare his story a lot to Captain America. There's a lot of parallels to Captain America, but he has his own spin on it, obviously. Luke Cage was not born with superpowers. Instead of being Steve Rogers, who was born, or at least in the movies, depicted as kind of a scrawny kid who wants to just join the fight. Luke Cage was already kind of a muscle of a man. He is a big guy, even before he gets superpowers. And he is a tough... He grew up on the streets of Harlem. He was born to a retired New York NYPD detective, but nonetheless got involved in gangs. His childhood friend, Stryker, who becomes his first real villain, Diamondback, later on after he gets his powers. They grew up close together in the streets of Harlem. And regularly would get into fights. Notable that Stryker, his friend his longtime friend at the time, was notable for fighting with knives, while Luke Cage preferred his fists, which continues on to his superheroing fighting style. And so over their time in history in Harlem, they would get involved in gangs, but eventually Cage would become, at the time, Carl Lucas. Carl/Cage here would eventually end up realizing that the gang life is essentially not for him, just because he believed he was kind of disappointing his family, which is fair. And just the dangers associated with the gang life or kind of turns away from it, which ends up causing a rift between him and his friend Stryker, which would only end up growing due to their mutual relationship with their friend Reva Connors, who would end up dating Stryker. But over the course, as Stryker would end up and years would go on, or time would go on, Stryker would get into illegal gambling and running gambling rings and stuff like that, just as ways to make fast money that would get him in trouble with other local gangs and mobs. And this would end up causing concerns where Reva Connors would begin to feel unsafe and would end up kind of seeking safety with Luke Cage, which would cause their rift to grow even more. And this reached a point eventually where Stryker would end up framing Luke Cage for drug possession, which got Luke Cage thrown into jail. Yes,
that's not a good friend at all.
No, quite a terrible one, actually. Especially considering before this event, Luke Cage literally saved his Stryker's life when he was jumped by and had a hit put on him by one of the mobs who had warned him to basically stop his activities. Didn't appreciate the competition. But the particularly tragic part is that Reva Connors, after Stryker got Luke Cage sent to jail, Reva Connors would end up getting killed in another hit on Stryker, which would obviously cause further rifts and cause for revenge by Luke Cage. We'll call it. But in jail, wherein Luke Cage was imprisoned. He was imprisoned at Seagate Prison, and during time in prison, Cage would build a lot of respect with the fellow gang members, and would eventually, over the course of time, have kind of altercations and run-ins with the guards that would end up building up quite the, let's say, rivalry between him and one of the guards, Albert Rockham, who ended up getting demoted for his abuse of Cage when the new warden of the prison showed up to surprise the prison guards early and to catch them off guard, and did in fact catch the guards shirking their duties, let's say, and end up getting this Robert fellow demoted. But because of Cage's history in the prison and the kind of corruption that was going on in the prison, Little Alcatraz as the prisoners called it again, Cage knew he had basically no chance of getting parole, which he wanted to get out so he could get revenge on Stryker. That was a main motivator of his, but also just, of course, to get out. And so when he was approached after abuse at the hand of Rockham, that prison guard, he was approached by a Dr. Noah Bernstein, who was doing research on trying to produce and try to kind of replicate elements of Captain America's super soldier serum. And so he talks to Cage, he gets Cage's kind of backstory, and Dr. Rockham manages to convince Cage to volunteer for experimentation that may very well end up killing him so that he could get parole, which is a little screwed up. But this was the 1970s. I don't know how well, if a new hero came out, how well something like that of human experimentation on prisoners would exactly go over very well. But nonetheless, Cage, being the hero he is, the hero in the making that he is, volunteers so he can get parole. And during the experimentation, and this was really screwed up, the Dr. Rockham purposefully injects him with a lethal disease, or a lethal cocktail, so that he can test whether the serum he's been working on, the treatment, actually works. Which I don't know, as someone who does science and does research on how to make new therapies, I can say that's not usually a good idea.
They don't offer you guys prisoners to your cancer treatments on?
No, we do not.
Sounds terrible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's terrible that they don't offer you inmates to do.
Oh yes, so terrible, yes. good thing they don't.
It must be this doctor's fault. He must have screwed things up, and Luke Cage must have made some sort of special bill to protect human rights or something. I mean,
those darn human rights always getting in the way. Yes.
Darn human rights.
Those darn human rights. Yes. So, human rights violations aside, Luke Cage still goes through with it. He's told that in the doctor's defense, he tells Luke Cage he can back out. And he doesn't have to do it. But Cage goes forward with it because he really wants that parole. He gets into the machine and is bathed in fluids. Instead of it being an injection, he's like put into like a bath basically with all the serum and fluids and stuff like that. And the experiment was ongoing, but the Dr. Rockham had to step away. I don't remember what the reason was, or not Dr. Rockham, Dr. Burstein. But as Dr. Burstein stepped away during this whole process, Rockham, that guard who was demoted because of Cage for abusing him, how dare he get demoted for such things, sabotages the experiment in an attempt to kill Cage and get revenge on him, which causes the whole experiment to go haywire, which ends up giving Cage his superpowers, which end up being super strength and most notably his unbreakable skin that is bulletproof and highly, highly, highly resistant to damage. I believe he also has somewhat of a healing factor where he heals faster. It's not like Wolverine levels or Deadpool levels, but I believe he does heal faster.
Hold on, so he has bulletproof skin that may or may not protect him?
Yes.
What?
It's interesting power for sure, because his internal organs apparently are not any different than a normal person's. So if you hit him hard enough, with enough blunt force trauma, you can still hurt him a lot.
Oh, okay. So like if the Hulk punches him, he could still die.
I don't know. I mean, in real life, even if you had bulletproof skin, if you got shot by a 50 caliber, you'd probably still die to that, even if you had bulletproof skin. But yes, if the Hulk punched him, I would assume he would not be walking that off very easily. So a big factor for sure is that in the context of when Cage and his first comics were created, he was the first ever African American main superhero who had his own standalone comic, and a big part of that during social justices going on there during that time during the 1970s or post civil rights movement and during, obviously. A big factor and certainly an obvious inspiration for his unbreakable skin, his bulletproof skin, is the notion that his skin, the color of his skin, isn't a weakness, it's a strength. And so an empowerment there.
I hadn't seen that connection before, but I like that. I think that's a great connection. So I've always enjoyed Luke Cage, and so, but to see how comics, and that's something I've been learning the past year, just listening to other podcasts and stuff, is how comics really connect back to what's going on in the real world, especially during its time, which is kind of cool.
And so, following the experimentation, gaining his super strength, which turns the already extremely strong and very, very well built Luke Cage into even more of a monster truck. Following the experiment, gaining his strength, he didn't know his strength yet, and he fought off Rockham, the guard who tried to kill him during the experiment, and believes he thought he accidentally killed him. It turned out he did not, but Cage didn't know it. And so expecting to just simply get the death penalty, having just killed a prison guard, he breaks out of prison and manages to escape Little Alcatraz, and then goes off on his way to start his career as a hero for hire. So Little Alcatraz was on an island, and so he jumps into the ocean, and I guess they just assumed, man, he sure fell into the water. He sure is dead. and didn't bother looking.
Here we sure are. That's a dead prisoner.
We sure did lose a prisoner. Gee golly whiz, he's gone. And yeah. But you can see the obvious parallels between Steve Rogers and our good friend here, Carl.
Carl, that kills people.
You can see the parallels there, and how they have a kind of a similar story of growing up on the streets, kind of having to fight their way or through, and having their own struggles, and then gaining superpowers as a result of an experiment and suddenly having the ability to kind of to help people. Now, certainly where they differ is that in Captain America's case, he went to World War II. Carl here, or Luke Cage, as he starts to call it as an alias and to hide his identity after he escapes prison. Cage, in World War II, obviously not going on in the 1970s, at least as I know my history.
Clearly you don't.
Shit.
Some might say it's still happening today.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Cage ends up, he goes hides his identity. He also just ends up needing to make money and starts the business as a hero for hire because he has superpowers now. Where he's more of a street level hero, is how he kind of is always portrayed.
That's kind of logical. I get superpowers now. It's a skill. Let me get paid for it.
Pretty much. He was already a very good fighter before that. Before he even got superpowers, and he already liked punching people. So, 2 + 2 = 4. Or, sorry, 2 + 2 = fist, I guess.
He already liked punching people.
2 + 2 = fist.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
He starts Hero for Hire. Do other heroes join him in Hero for Hire? Or
Eventually. He goes through a kind of a solo period during his first several issues of his comic. He ends up fighting Stryker. Stryker ends up dying, not because of Luke Cage, but because he falls through a skylight and he basically ends up accidentally killing himself with one of his own knives. Remember, kids, knives are dangerous. He had a crossover with the Fantastic Four that I thought was particularly interesting and funny, where he ends up. So Cage gets hired by Dr. Doom, of all people, to hunt down some rogue Doombots in New York, which he does so pretty easily. But Dr. Doom, being the owner of a country as he is, skips town to avoid the payment of $200. Now that may not sound like a whole lot that Luke Cage is charging for, hero work, but that's
Sure.
about the equivalent of about $1,500 in today's money by when the comic would have come out in the 70s ish. So a decent chunk of money. I still think Cage could be charging a lot more personally for Hero
for
Hire,
sure.
but
$1,500 just to go. I don't know, like rogue Doombots. There's no definite number of how many there are.
Yeah, just go. Go break him, Cage. Okay, sure, Dr. Doom, whatever.
Yeah, it'd be.
But
$200.
Dr. Doom makes the classic mistake of not paying Cage, or just not thinking Cage would go halfway across the world to find him. Because Cage just goes and borrows the Fantastic Four's jet, flies to Latveria, and then proceeds to beat the crap out of Dr. Doom. Until Dr. Doom finally just gives him his money, and then he just leaves.
That's awesome.
I thought that was
the one hero Doom
funny.
is afraid of is the fist of Luke Cage.
Yes. I thought it was incredibly funny. The premise alone is fantastic, I gotta say.
I mean, he did encounter the Fantastic Four.
He did. I just thought it's not like, oh, hey, Cage, do you want some help getting your money or something like that? We'll go help you. Nah, guys, I got this. We just go solo Dr. Doom here.
Mr. Fantastic, being one of the smartest men in the world, would have better security for his flying jet.
Well, I think they did lend it to him. I don't think he stole it or borrowed it. Quotation marks borrowed it. I think he did borrow it for real, with permission. But it's still funny. He flew halfway across the world for $1,500 equivalent ish to beat up Doom, and then just left.
It probably cost Fantastic Four that much in gas for him to get over there.
Yeah, probably. They probably were like, dude, you want to go punch Doom? Go for it. We'll give you more money.
That's right. You want to... Sure, you have any skills in flying? I've never flown a jet in my life. I've only lived on the streets of Harlem.
Yeah, what? Yeah,
this is fine.
What's flying?
It's okay. This jet that we have, it flies by itself.
No big deal.
It's not that big.
I don't know if autopilot was a thing in the 70s.
Just have
It
Human
was for the
Torch pick
Fantastic
it up from
Four.
underneath and fly it for you,
Yeah.
It's heat
So,
resistant.
that's just one of his run-ins and crossovers that I thought was just peak and just absolutely comical. No pun intended. In the rest of Cage's stories, where Iron Fist is just a reoccurring character who is always there to be the bestest bro and bestest friend to Luke Cage and backs him up at any moment. For context on how they end up meeting, Dr. Burstein and Dr. Temple, who is Dr. Burstein's, I can't remember what the word would be, not co-worker, also a doctor, co-doctor. We'll just go with that. Dr. Burstein and Dr. Temple had opened a clinic basically right next door to Cage on Times Square. Fun fact, where he started his office. Or started his Hero for Hire business. But they both end up getting kidnapped by a villain called Bushmaster for reasons. And so, following this blackmailing, because Cage wants to save Dr. Burstein and Dr. Temple, Cage ends up fighting Iron Fist. But both Iron Fist and Misty Knight learn of the blackmail, and they all join forces and end up beating up on Bushmaster. And then from there on out, it is Cage and Iron Fist together, the dynamic pair,
Nice.
the dynamic duo.
The dynamic, the Marvel, the Marvel dynamic duo.
The one of many. Yes. Following this, following the foundation of this great dynamic duo of Cage and Iron Fist. Now that I think about it, Iron Fist's name kind of gives away why they became great friends, because Cage likes punching people and so does Iron Fist.
Oh.
They're the punch buddies.
They are. And this is when this buddy cop, or not really buddy cop, but buddy mercenary, Heroes for Hire, is when Cage really begins to show a new side of himself and starts to develop himself as a leader. Cage also ends up meeting his future wife, Jessica Jones, who he has on-again, off-again relations with. It is during this period, during Heroes for Hire, plural, that Cage goes through a period where he is, again, framed for crime and becomes wanted by the law. He ends up going to Chicago to hide from the government organization that framed him for the apparent murder of Iron Fist. Of course, Cage would never murder Iron Fist.
No, they're best bros.
Exactly. The government's organization, funnily enough, was SMILE. It's an acronym. So good job on the authors there. And so eventually, as Cage is hiding out and trying to clear his name, learns that Iron Fist is still alive, which naturally leads to his name being cleared. They end up going back to Heroes for Hire, which interestingly enough ends up getting bought out by Stark Fujikawa Corporation. But Cage and Ant-Man, who ends up becoming a part of Heroes for Hire, both Cage and Ant-Man get fired for their prison records. The rest of the heroes quit in protest. And then they just reopen Heroes for Hire in a bar.
Smart.
Yeah. I don't know how trademarking would necessarily actually factor into that, especially in today. If you could just, get bought out, leave, and then open the same business of the same name, I don't think that would work today. You'd maybe throw in an apostrophe somewhere to really throw them off. No,
You
guys,
put a
it's
Z.
totally separate. Yeah, you put a Z.
It has a Z.
This is an alternate universe, so
Yeah, Heroes. Zzz.
heroes.
Zzz.
No copyright. This is no problem.
It is after this period that Cage ends up meeting Jessica Jones again. They have another encounter. We'll just say that. While drunk, they end up both working for Daredevil, and Jones Cage ends up becoming Jones's kind of rock for emotional support during this period. And then it turns out she is pregnant. And Cage and her end up moving in together and later on become married. That is a very short summary of their relationship. They have quite the extensive relationship.
Oh, wow.
And then following that, the rest of the history is Cage, as he ends up joining the Avengers. He ends up leading the Secret Avengers at one point after Captain America is assumed to be killed. And he really kind of forms into the more modern Luke Cage as a leader. And it one of the most interesting things about Cage is he's not a hero who goes around in tights. He's not wearing a costume. He goes around in jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah,
A
that's
t-shirt.
something that I've always liked about him is that he doesn't really have a superhero uniform. He's just like, I'm just a
I'm here.
dude.
Yeah, which is very cool. And he wears some very form-fitting t-shirts. Let's put it that way. I don't know how his t-shirts even stay on him for more than 2 seconds with how much muscles he has. But yeah, the modern Cage, he's very much a leader. He has this on again, off again, like retirement, not retirement strategy or thing going on where he's always like, nah, man, I gotta take care of my wife and the family, and so I can't keep doing the superhero business. But then he gets dragged right when he thought he was out. He gets dragged back in.
Yeah, he never gets to really leave. Even in, I think Civil War is really where I first. No, I met him in New Avengers. I read a lot of New Avengers, and then when the Civil War started to happen, both he and Jessica Jones were like, "We're not doing this. We're stepping out, and we're moving to Canada."
Well, Jones ends up moving to Canada on her own. Yeah, during Civil War is certainly a big period for him because that's really when modern Luke Cage kind of comes into the fold. Jones ends up going to Canada with the kid, but Cage actually ends up staying to, fight the good fight, I guess you could put it.
He has to get talked into it first.
Yeah, he does have to get talked into it. Yeah, he doesn't want to, obviously. He doesn't want to leave his wife and kid. But he does get talked into it, and like I said, after Captain America is put on ice, Cage kind of takes over as leader and does end up leading the Avengers, the Secret Avengers during that whole period. The Avengers kind of officially reform, and Cage was asked by Captain America, now back, to be a part of it, but he didn't want to, and so instead, what is set up, Tony Stark sells the Avengers mansion for $1, which Cage is broke at this point and has to borrow that dollar from Iron Fist in order to buy the mansion, and then ends up creating kind of a side Avengers as the leader of it.
The Side Avengers.
Yes, that are not beholden to a government power, unlike the main Avengers, which I thought was a very interesting thing. And then he retires again, and then he unretires again.
Yeah, he seems to be doing that a lot more recently. I haven't seen like either any solo projects for him recently or any just story arcs that he's a main part of right now.
Yeah, I think at the moment isn't the most recent thing. It's not the Defenders. It's I can't remember I can't remember off the top of my head who he was a part of, who he's currently, I guess, most recently a part of. But that is the short version of Cage's history, with the broadest of strokes and my 2 cents of what I thought were the funniest parts and the most interesting parts.
No, thank you for that. We really appreciate it. You did put a lot of work into this, so thank you so much. Only 17 pages later, and we're at the end of Luke Cage's story here. So
something like that.
Something like that. No, this is great. He's an awesome hero, and I feel like I would love to see him again. I want to see him come back because, like you said, his modern version really kicked off in New Avengers back in the early 2000s, and he was there until, right before COVID. I think he was really just a big prevalent part of the comic book history, and as of recent years, he's just kind of been not doing much. So
he's
I guess
retired. He's retired.
He's hanging out with his kid. So
until the kid comes back as a professional boxer.
Our guest has spoken a lot in the past few moments. We really appreciate the history. Why don't you describe the card for us that he has brought to us this wonderful day?
Yeah, so it is titled Luke Cage. His artwork's pretty cool. He, like Dr. Science said, he doesn't really have a uniform, so he's just wearing a yellow shirt. He does have some wristbands on, which is kind of cool, and that is something that he typically does have. He usually does have some kind of like wristbands in there, and his shirt's like super tight on him, and it's ripped in a couple of places, and he's got this mean mugging face where he's like, "Urgh," he looks like he just ripped something off of something like a metal sheet or something in his hand, and he just looks like he's ready to rumble. That's what he looks like. He is a 4 cost. He thwarts for 1. He attacks for 2, and he has 5 HP. In his text box, he is a defender, and what it says is toughness. So whenever you put him down, he has toughness, which it explains it because this was in the core set. So it says this Avenger enters play with a tough status card, and what does it say at the bottom? It says Power Man for hire, Cage speaking.
Power Man for hire, Cage
And
speaking.
he is
probably a lot deeper.
He is a protection ally.
Power Man for hire, Cage speaking.
Yeah. Maybe a little more brevity to it.
I think we found our after credit scene.
There you go.
All right, so we have the description of our card here. It is a protection card. He does have an energy resource. What do we jump into next here with our wonderful stats?
He is pretty costly as a 4-cost ally, but he's got a lot of HP and he's got tough.
And he
So
comes with
realistically, he is pretty capable of taking about 3 hits from a villain, unless they've got some buffs going on. They're hitting for over 5 damage, obviously, or 5 or more damage.
Yeah,
if you're... Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, to me, it makes sense that he would be a protection card.
Yep.
Because, yeah, he comes in with that toughness, so he already can defend for anything with no damage done, which it would make sense that he's Luke, because he's Luke Cage. But then he also has 5 HP. Like, there's not many allies out there that have that much HP.
Yep.
No.
He
5
definitely
is half the amount.
He definitely fits the background for who, as we just went through Cage's history. He is a tough guy. He hits pretty hard. You know, you might expect him to do a little more than 2 damage or 2 attack, but 2 attack is pretty standard and pretty on par with every other hero or most other heroes.
Yeah, but he also only takes 1 consequential damage. Usually, whenever you have somebody with this much HP, they typically take 2.
That's a good point. I didn't think about
I
that.
didn't think about that. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. If you're just using him to block, he'll realistically end up blocking probably 3 attacks from villain or a minion in there. If you attack with him, he gets chipped away at. Maybe it'll be more like 2. But he is tough. It makes sense that he's 4 cost. I use him in my deck, which is partly why I chose him for this episode. But he is pretty effective at what he's there to do.
He is valid. I think we've kind of all hit. You guys have hit the points already, but I feel like he does. He fits what he has in the comics. You know that he's bulletproof, so he has that toughness coming in. Though I really would have liked to see a little bit more of that super strength. But I guess he's not going to punch as hard as the Hulk, so 2 would make sense because the Hulk only punches for 3 as an ally, right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
So.
Hulk has 5. Doesn't he have the same amount of HP as the Hulk? Isn't the Hulk a 5 HP as well?
Yeah, actually. The Hulk is a 5 HP, but he doesn't come in with toughness.
Yeah.
Hulk comes in with all those other special things that happen when he attacks, and then he's 2 cost, but because of all the problems that come with him, it makes him cheaper. So it's kind of a trade-off there.
True.
Where Luke
Cage is pure value.
Yeah, Cage is pure value. I mean, and you got to think about it. He's hero for hire. No wonder he cost me 4 points, 4 cards. He wants you to pay him to do his job.
Yeah, but he only charges $1,500. So is he really that expensive?
I mean, it depends on what kind of job you're looking for. If you got some robots that need beaten up, that's a great value. Yeah.
So
do you guys feel like he fits the comic character then?
I would
think
definitely
he does.
say so.
I think he fits it. Yeah, I think he fits it very good.
Awesome. I agree. I could agree with that. And then
the only thing that you could maybe is like if there was going to be a down, if he was like a 3 coster instead of 4, he would probably have a downside of something like, now granted there's probably no precedent for this, of something like if Cage would take more than 4 damage or more than 3 damage from a single hit, like 4 or more, he is just removed from play. Since his skin is very durable, but and it comes up in the comics, his internal organs are not any more
durable than a normal person, really.
That's true. I would like to see something a little more to that point. I think a lot of the allies that came out, because this is a core box hero, so a lot of the core box heroes, or core box allies, excuse me, were very basic
Simple. Yeah.
and simple, just so people could start learning how to play the game. I'd love to see an updated version of this Luke Cage ally that maybe does cost a little less, but there's bigger consequences for him taking a big hit for you. And the fact that he's been able to take some big hits in the past too is pretty wild too. So we've hit all of our points of what is his best uses. Do you like playing Luke Cage? I think I play him off and on. I played him a lot more when I first had the core box.
When I
haven't
play
played him in a
protection,
minute.
yeah, when I play protection, I usually will put him in my stuff.
I can end up having. It depends on the circumstance, of course. When he's in the deck, but do I end up playing him every single time I draw him? No, because he is pretty expensive, and depending on the circumstance, especially in a multiplayer game, you may not need that person out there. Maybe thwart that needs to happen, or other things that need to happen. Someone really needs a stun to happen, or just other things need to be played. You get your resources out. So because of that 4 cost, he can be a little difficult to get out, especially early on, if you don't have your econ up. But that is his biggest downside for sure, is that cost.
Well, that is a good point. I mean, is there a different value in playing him in solo versus multiplayer? Is he worth the cost and more one than the other?
Levy, any experience in that? I only have experience with multiplayer.
I would say he's probably better in solo because he can defend for you so many times, but he still has his values in multiplayer.
I still play him 100%. I will throw him out, and he can come in really clutch.
At least defending for an ally or a teammate is helpful. But then for him, especially if you're playing him with like somebody like Hawkeye, yeah, you're going to get out there as a solo player. You're going to take care of my Hawkeye for me.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, in a three-player game, for example, if I put out Luke Cage, I'm playing my Captain America deck, I can put out Luke Cage. I could potentially end up basically defending for everybody, where could end up Cap can defend for somebody. Cap can end up just taking the hit because he has one card that can just negate all the damage he takes. And then you can have Luke Cage defend for somebody, and just with that, just with 2 cards and your own hero, which readies at the start of the turn, of course, you've defended for everybody on the field. If it's 4-player and you have Indomitable out, or whatever the card is that readies you after you defend, for Cap, you can defend for 4 people, even.
That's true, yeah, if you do it just right. And then
That
you get
requires...
that extra benefit that you get that extra card from... oh my gosh, Sinister Motives, where you have the special shields tech that you get that you pay 2 cards to ready yourself.
Or 2 HP. That one
2
I don't
HP?
think you can do. That one I don't think you can do on off your turn. To be fair, but yes, the principle is the same. If you have a way to ready yourself immediately after you defend, you could theoretically defend for the entire board if you have Luke Cage around, or really any ally. But Luke Cage will stick around after that.
That's what you're looking for, is an ally in protection that's going to stick around for a long time for you. Let's do some final scoring then, I guess. I think we're at that point of the episode. So
what's our scoring system?
I think wait. I think Dr. Science should go first. Because no. I don't want him to compare his scoring system to ours, because he hasn't heard ours.
What? I'm not allowed to know what the scoring system is?
Yeah, we all have our own unique scoring system. So that's how we do it.
All right. Well, let's see here. For my scoring system, which I will not illuminate either of the hosts here on, I'd give him a 7 out of 10 for the card. For the card.
Yeah.
The card. All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any particular reason why a 7 out of 10?
You have to give your scoring first. As I said, I will not be illuminating my hosts here until I find out what theirs is.
Fair enough. So for my Yelp review of Luke Cage. Yelp review, yes.
Oh yeah.
This heroic hero charged me a bit much to be helpful, but when he did show up, he did his job and he did it well. So I would say I would give him a good 4.5 stars. But he does such a good job when you actually play him that I'm not too overly worried about that. So 4.5 stars. What about you, Mr. Lewis? What special rating do you have for us today?
So I will rate Luke Cage, the protection ally, as a rhinoceros. So, Dr. Science, I always rate our allies as some type of an animal.
Rhinoceros fits pretty well. Yeah.
And rhinoceros, yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, rhinoceros fits really well. Because rhinos, yes, they are considered battle unicorns.
Battle unicorns.
Yeah. So the thing is that a rhinoceros is not a super aggressive animal, but it's a big protection animal. Like it's got really tough hide. It's got the horn. Depending on what type, it might have 2 horns. And so when it needs to, do a battle charge, it totally can, and it can do a lot of destruction when it needs to. But it doesn't go out of its way to do that. And I feel like that's kind of like how Luke Cage is. Luke Cage, he doesn't do a lot of seeking out and and hurting people and doing things like that unless he feels he absolutely has to.
Yeah.
So I think a rhino fits.
Yeah.
That's very valid. Well, Dr. Science, thank you for coming, man. It's been a pleasure having you on the episode today.
It's been a pleasure here. So I went with 7 out of 10 just to throw it in there because I did say I would. I went with 7 out of 10 because on the bro scale, he is clearly a 10 out of 10.
The bro scale.
Yes.
Is that your scale? Is that your scale? It's the bro scale?
That's one of the scales. On the cost value of the card, I would give it a 5 out of 10. I'd give it a pretty average score. And then purely for the awesome sauce factor, being Luke Cage, obviously that means he's got that up there. But that you can't scale awesome sauce. Awesome sauce is its own category. So just the average of the bro scale and the cost value, I give them a 7 out of 10. I'd say.
That's good. That's a good good way of weighing it out.
But yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's been great. So hopefully we'll get to see you back in a future episode.
Not at 5:30 in the morning, I can tell you that much.
That was on you!
I deny such assertions. I deny all such claims.
I bet we can find a more appealing time to meet. But we do appreciate you coming out this morning. And
it was very fun. I liked being here.
Folks, we would love for you to email us your rating of Dr. Science. And his wonderful hosting abilities, and it helps him with his future podcasting endeavors to have some good ratings. So if y'all could send that in to him at sidekickedamcp@gmail.com. That's sidekickedamcp, and the AMCP stands for A Marvel Champions Podcast @gmail.com.
I'm glad you clarified that because I had no idea what that was.
Oh, A Marvel Champions Podcast. Yep. Sidekicked@gmail.com was unfortunately already taken. So I had to add the AMCP.
We have ratings?
Yeah. We want to get ratings of our guests. But if you would like to review and rate our podcast, we would love that as well. We are on Apple Podcasts. Do it on the YouTubes. Give us that thumbs up and the like and the subscribe button. Don't be afraid to give us 5 stars there on Spotify. All the things.
Don't listen to him, viewers. Don't listen to him. Don't give in to his 5 stars. Be a rebel.
That's right. Give us a 6. 6 stars.
Yeah.
We would appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll let our esteemed guest do the final sign-off, if you're all right with that. Close us out with a wonderful sign-off. So, my name's Jason Sketch, and of course, next time, I'll be deadly serious next time.
I'm Levi Lewis, and watch out for all those wombats out there.
I'm Dakaru, or as these co-hosts, as the hosts have said, Dr. Science. Stay healthy out there, have fun, and keep on trucking.
So as a scientist, it'd be the same kind of thing. Like if Iron Man's being shot by a jackhammer with his armor on.
If you're being shot by a jackhammer, I think there's 2 more questions in that.
Okay, sorry. If you're being hit by a jackhammer while wearing Iron Man's armor, would Iron Man still suffer internal damage?
Presumably.
Even though he's got this armor.
Here's my jackhammer gun.
Presumably.
It's
my
comics.
Jackhammer gun. Now I wouldn't put it past Marvel. Now I really want the jackhammer cannon.
Jackhammer cannon.
Dan Palmenmeyer, if you're listening to this, we would love to see the Jackhammer-nator come into play
Jackhammer-nator.
in Phineas and Ferb. So
Yeah. This is my jackhammerator. It shoots.
A jackhammer?
It shoots jackhammer.
Bury the jackhammer!
My word.
Perry.